Once spirits cursed a villager of Abuta Aurori to see the destruction of his town. They sent a part spider, part human creature, Yao Shekupu, to fulfill the curse. Yao Shekupu caused rampant destruction throughout the town, slaughtering so many that the streets were filled with crimson blood. After hearing the townfolk tremble in fear, the sea kami Akkorokamui transformed Yao Shekupu into an octopus and cast her into the sea. After Yao Shekupu was cast into the sea, her size began to grow, eventually beginning to consume larger and larger prey, such as whales and ships. One day, Akkorokamui gobbled up a boat full of fishermen. In her stomach, they began to call for help. Hearing the cries, Akkorokamui poisoned Akkorokamui, giving her great pain. As Akkorokamui hollowed in agony, the fishermen escaped. However, Akkorokamui learned to harness the venom, using it to attack the prey. Welcome to Creepy Critters. My name is Jessie Cooper, and with me today is a hopefully new friend, David. Don't know how to pronounce your last name. Hinyan. How are you? What's up? What do you do?
I'm on and do the editing of Stasis Pod, the Transformers podcast, where we're just about wrapping up Transformers Animated, about to start Prime. We've already done Beast Wars and Beast Machines and various odds and ends. Hosted over at iaconunderground.net.
I talked to Rob many times. I get confused on which Transformers series I've watched because there's about 1 million of them.
More than a dozen? Maybe 20 at this point? Not counting comic books?
Yeah, there's too many for me to remember. All I know is I watched about 5 of them. I'm not even a big Transformers fan. I just end up watching an entire season of Transformer cartoons for some reason. But, I'm gonna stop playing Magikarp Jump and actually start hosting. Again. Yeah. Not against you or anything, but it was about time for my Magikarp to get some sweet JP from the Mimikyu. But speaking of Japanese games based a lot off of creatures of mythology and Shinto,
oh yes,
we're speaking about a octopus lady monster, Akkorokamui. I forgot how to pronounce it. Okay, wait. Akkorokamui.
Akkorokamui.
Got it. Yep, I have a thing right in front of me that just says it. For me. So, Akkorokamui is a gigantic part human, part octopus monster from Anu in Shinto folklore, which lurks in the Fuka Bay in Hokkaido? Japan? Hokkaido, Japan. I don't speak Japanese. I barely speak English. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. But we're going through with this. It has also been sighted in several other locations, such as Taiwan and Korea for centuries. And it's also known as the long-fingered lady. So, as you heard before, the person... So, basically, this is a Shinto and Anu folklore creature / kami, which is a minor kami, which is basically like a minor god or spirit.
Which is arguable because it comes from Ainu, and Kamuis there are kind of kami, but not quite. Like, kamis are more gods, Kamui are more just spirits.
But Shinto is, I don't want to say weird, but it's more freeform about what you worship, because like there are people who can worship just like minor like spirits of inanimate objects, and that's it, and that's okay. And because like Shinto is one of those religions where they believe in spirits inhabiting inanimate objects as well as animals, and also like nature spirits such as like stuff of the wind and stuff of the sea, and Jesus is also a Shinto god. So like there's a whole like Mormon like story about how Jesus went to Japan and died in Japan.
Oh,
there's a whole thing, and I might talk about that as like a supplementary thing, but it's a little bit more freeform, so I'm okay with it being called a god or spirit or whatever. So I'm okay with it. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. So, according to Shinto mythology, the creature is human-like and contains a bright red color. And the reason why this creature kind of went over to us white folk, and by us white folk, I mean one white folk and one American, was because of a guy named John Batchelor, who is a 19th century, I want to say anthropologist, but I'm not sure if that's right. Basically, he had a book where when he went to Japan in the 1800s, where he basically wrote down a bunch of the folklore and stuff. And supposedly he also saw the Akkorokamui at one point too. But in his book and in the Anu and the Shinto religions, they provide some details on it. And it is it's 20 meters in length. John Batchelor specifies that the red color of the Akkorokamui is a striking red, seemingly likened to the reflection of the setting sun upon water. The Akkorokamui is also characteristically described with the ability to self-amputate, like several octopus species, and to regenerate limbs.
So it rips regenerating it's self-amputated, so it rips its own limbs off just for kicks?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
I mean, why not? I mean, if I could rip my arm off and grow it back, I'd probably do it at least once a year.
That just kind of sounds like a part of a myth that was started because giant, large tentacles were washing up on shore. But they keep seeing the giant octopus gods, and it's fine, so whatever.
The Akkorokamui is totally real because this one white dude saw it.
Well, that's sort of Loch Ness Monster-y. A couple monks saw it.
I spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about how long I'd be able to feed myself if I cut off one of my legs. So, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about it, especially when I'm bored. So, like, I'd probably be like, I could do this without hurting myself that bad. Speaking of auto-cannibalism, the Akkorokamui does not do that. The characteristics manifest in the belief in Shinto that Akkorokamui has healing powers.
Ah, well, the amputating regrowing, that makes sense. Oh.
And consequently, I can't say words. It is also believed among the followers that giving offerings to Akkorokamui will heal ailments of the body, in particular, disfigurements, not dismemberments. That's totally different. Disfigurements and broken limbs.
A god that heals itself, you pray to that god because he might know how to heal you too.
Exactly. Nade Yakushiri. Is a shrine. Oh, wait, no, I don't know why that sentence is in there. Never mind. Cut that out, Jessie. So far, what do you think about Akkorokamui?
Interesting. Like, wait, the myth where it started, she was like a spider before becoming an octopus? Or was it he?
It's a she.
Okay, it's a she.
I'm pretty sure it's a she.
I was looking it up online. And
I think it's a she.
There were a couple myths that seemed to be the same myth, but the genders were changed, which sometimes is an issue.
Well, the myth that I saw specifically said that is a she, but it might be one of those like gender fluid things where it doesn't really matter. It's just a half naked person with octopus body.
Yeah, well, she changed from a half spider lady to a half octopus lady, so yeah, gender doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I like it so far from the research that I've done of this minor kami / god or whatever. Kamuri, yeah, spirit. I like it so far. It's there's a certain quality about Japanese folklore that I tend to like a lot. It like there seems to be less of a lesson component to it than a lot of Western media has.
Less of what component?
Like a lesson.
Oh.
Or moral component. A lot of times, stuff is allowed to happen without, justice happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's probably oversimplifying stuff, but... But I like Japanese folklore a lot. There's a minor... I'm pretty sure oni is the right word. Is that the right word?
Possibly. Or yokai? What are we talking about?
Yokai's the word. No, I'm not talking about demons. I'm talking about trickster spirits and ghosts. So, but there is a yokai that is basically where a piece of furniture basically is used for long enough, it just becomes like a benevolent / malevolent yokai.
The household yokai, which come from umbrellas and lanterns and things.
Yeah, lamps. And just anything that's really old eventually just becomes a living thing.
Yeah, I think
and I like that.
That extends to other things, like if a cat lives 100 years, it becomes a yokai and grows extra tails.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I kind of like that element to it. Yeah.
So this is just an octopus that lived so long it became a god.
No, it's a half spider lady that lived long enough to become a god and then got thrown into the sea. It turned into an octopus. Which I would say is an upgrade. But I am also pro spider body.
Yeah, the spider body is more common. I mean, there's 3 or 4 different yokai that are different. Half spider, or half ox, or half lady, half spider. There's variations.
Yeah, there's so many of them. But she is worshipped. So let's get to some of those. The Anu reverence of this monster permeated into Shintoism. And she's, as I said before, a minor kami. Self-purification practices for Akkorokamui is often strictly followed. Which, for some reason, I don't have... No, I do have it. It's later. It was just a poorly written paragraph that did not clarify what the self-purification practices was after it. Like other Shinto purification rituals, prior to entering the shrine of Akkorokamui, one's hands must be cleaned with water, with the exception of one's feet, which also must be cleaned as well. She's often presented as a benevolent Kami with the powers to heal and to bestow knowledge, but it's also very fickle and has a propensity to harm. Its nature as
a fickle god.
The nature as an octopus means that it's persistent and near impossible to escape its grasp without permission.
So every once in a while, she'll just for kicks grab someone, and you have to ask nicely to be let out.
Yeah, it's like whenever you have a bully who's just like, I won't stop nooking you until you say that you're a loser or something. Akkorokamui enjoys the sea and offerings that reflects this. So fish, crab, mollusks, and the like are particular favorites of Akkorokamui, which gives back to what it gives, which gives back that which it gave.
Think crabs are like a major export in Hokkaido?
It wouldn't surprise me anyway. Because there's a lot of like, because Japan is fairly small compared to other places, and is surrounded completely by the sea, a lot of its folklore revolves around the sea. And fishing. And that's always very interesting to me, because I hate the sea, but I'm also fascinated with it.
I love to eat crabs and some other things out of the sea, but it does seem like an unpleasant place.
It's an awful place, just like the rest of the world, but it's harder to stand. So, one of these days I'm going to be able to stand on that ocean. I've been trying. Shrines and dedication to Akkorokamui and associated octopus deities are often found throughout Japan. Well-known shrines includes the one in Kyoto in the island of Hokkaido that pay homage to Nade Yusuke. Nade Yushi. That's it. Yakushi. I think I got it. I had to break down the syllables the right way. These shrines are named to different deities that share various characteristics with Akkorokamui, and such practices as healing, removal, and purification are similar. So, she is minor, and that often means she gets kind of clumped up with other similar deities. Yeah, lesser gods. But great thing about Shinto is if your lesser god is Akkorokamui, that's fine. Like, you're still practicing your religion. So let's get to some of the sightings. Yeah. So the Anu have long reported sightings of the Akkorokamui, but there's other accounts written by non-Anu as well. As I said before, the 19th century Englishman and missionary John Batchelor, who lived among the Anu.
He spells bachelor weird.
He does. It's very weird, which is why I trip over, because it's bachelor.
But it's bachelor with
with
the T. It's batch. L-or.
Yeah, it's batch. So, I have to patch. I mean, you peak that mic. Patch. Okay, but he lived among the Anu and is known for his extensive writings on Anu life. He wrote a first-hand encounter about an alleged incident concerning the apparent Akkorokamui in his book, The Anu and Their Folklore.
Yeah, the book Ainu and Their Folklore came out, 1901 or something? They're ridiculously old and hard to find, if not impossible to find now.
Yeah, well, I'd be interested in looking into it, because I don't know much about, Anu life, and I imagine it's probably just got, a lot of it probably got assimilated into...
forcibly assimilated into the rest of Japan, to a degree.
Yeah, forcefully assimilated. That's what I should say, because they were imperialist at one point as well. I don't think people realize that. A lot of times, like, you know, it wasn't only the Western worlds who were dicks to everyone. The Japanese did also lots of horrible things to other people. So this is his account. In the morning, we found the whole village under a cloud. 3 men, it was said, were out trying to catch swordfish, when all at once a great sea monster with great staring eyes appeared in front of them and proceeded to attack the boat. A desperate fight ensued. The monster was round in shape and emitted a dark fluid, a noxious odor. The 3 men fled in dismay. Not so much indeed in fear, they say, but on account of the dreadful smell. However, they may have been. They were so scared, and the next morning all 3 refused to get up to eat. They were lying in their beds, pale and trembling. Yeah, so that could have just been a big old octopus. But
could have been, yeah.
Like, there's lots of scary things out in the sea. But
yes, but and if you're not familiar with it, like this foreign dude, it might have seemed a lot bigger than it actually was.
Yeah. Or it could have been a colossal squid or something like that as well. Like, those exist. They just don't come from the deep sea that often. Those exist. In fact, up until I think last year, our only evidence of them is we saw something fuck up sperm whales consistently. And we were just like, this is totally like tentacle like serrated bits all over their face. Who is doing this?
Or every once in a while a corpse washes up on beach and then just washes back out. It's like, that was
like, there's some scary stuff in the sea. Like, we've discovered more of the space than we have of our own sea in oceans. So, like, you know, some scary stuff. Maybe Akkorokamuis do exist.
It's just a giant unfound octopus. Or squid, or thing. A kraken of some sort.
A kraken! And here's another sighting. It's from a 19th century Japanese fisherman, which Brent Swanshire translated from the original Japanese. I saw ahead something huge, in red and undulating under the waves. At first I thought it was my eyes deceiving me. I thought I was merely seeing the reflection of the sun upon the water. But as I approached, I could see in fact it was an enormous monster, 80 meters in length at least, with large thick tentacles, as big around as a man's torso. The thing fixed me with a huge staring eye before sinking into the depths and out of sight. Again, probably just a big old octopus or squid, but, you know.
Probably, if it says reflection of the sun, so it could have just been an optical illusion. Although seeing a giant eye is kind of odd for an optical illusion.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna just play in this space for a little bit, and let's just say he did see Akkorokamui. So this leads to a question that I mean, you probably haven't thought about. What would you do if you saw a giant octopus lady come out of the ocean?
What's the question? Like, how much lady, how much octopus? Like, it's supposed to be like 80 meters across. That's my math is bad. Is it really frickin' 200 feet across, or there's abouts? Like, how big is the lady part? Is it normal, human sized, or is it like 20 meter tall lady part?
Giant, in proportion with the rest.
Strange. Although it kind of makes me think of the movie Ponyo, where a little fish girl and her father is human and her mother is a giant sea god. Which is weird.
Hey, don't shame anyone.
I can't say I'm not averse to a giant octopus woman.
It depends on if she's eating whale. If she's eating a whale in front of me, though, like, I'm immediately like, nah, let's get out. Let's get out of here.
I guess the scale is kind of more of a problem. I mean, it's not like I haven't drawn a tentacle woman before, and it's been posted online for a short video game. Well, visual novel, I guess. As I just shared a link.
I think what I would do is I'd probably just, I'd probably die. Just outright. Probably. I'm not sure why I asked this don't know why I asked. Like, it's just like, we'd probably just both end up dying.
Yeah,
she eats ships.
Giant tentacle demigod who occasionally rips off her own limbs. She may not be that gentle.
No, and you have to ask permission before she lets you go. Like, it's just like...
What is the safe word? I can't pronounce the safe word. You speak with an Ainu accent.
I can barely speak English. Probably the easiest version of this game so far. Make it YA. We're gonna... The general gist is we're gonna make a YA novel/movie plot involving the Akkorokamui.
Well, to have it young adult, I think you'd have to have, like, the child of Akkorokamui as, like, the romantic interest instead of Akkorokamui herself. It's a little big. So you have a young octopus woman. Or, a sexy octopus boy.
You know what? I think what it needs to be, depending on what your audience is, because I think if you're doing slightly younger, you'd probably make it a octopus boy, and you're doing as the love interest. If you're doing slightly older, it'd be octopus lady. And let's say this is just it's a high school full of like kami, like demigod / spirits. Like there's like a little yokai lamp hopping around.
So it's like the Monster Musume manga, only that's more European monsters. This is more focused on Japanese yokai and kamuis and things.
Yeah, let's make it like a Shinto god school manga or anime. And they're all like the sons and daughters of the Shinto gods. And they're all in their same. They're not like sexy form or anything, or like attractive form. They are how they are described. And let's make it like one of those like a fruit baskets or something like that. Where it's like, well, it's basically like a harem of dudes and stuff, or like a harem of dudes are kind of like vying for affection.
Dang it, I can't remember the name of the one I have. It's like a club thing. Never mind.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah,
but like it's like a harem of dudes, like kind of vying for affection, but like it's not like aggressive.
Oh, Oran Host Club. That's I think the name.
Oran Host. Yes, it's not like aggressive or anything. Yeah, it's just kind of like it's just a lot of like vignettes,
hanging out with
hilarious,
handsome boys who are occasionally funny.
Yes, and they get in tons of antics. On top of that, the comic relief character, the major comic relief character, is going to be a little yokai like lamp that pops around and like is mischievous.
You could have it as a period piece, like set it back when Akkorokamui was created. Like she starts out as like an evil spider woman, but then falls in love with this villager dude, and then gets cursed by an actual Kamui to become the sea god, and then she's gotta work to get back to her villager lover.
Even better. I like that even more. And it's actually quite tragic, but like the villager that she's in love with doesn't understand what's happening because like she was cursed and she has to do... Oh my I like this. This is already good. This is so good already.
And it could work out better because, like, he's a fisherman, and maybe she loved him from afar and couldn't reveal herself to him until one day she had to give into it and rampage through the town trying to find him, which is why she got turned into a fish. But it's like, oh no, he's afraid of spiders, but he loves fishing.
No, I like that. That's although I think I still like the Oron Host Club treatment of it, though.
Well, yeah, after the initial story, it becomes like a gaggle of yokai suitors who are trying to take her away from her villager boyfriend. And hilarity ensues.
The following stories following it as like let's say they get to second season, because this is going to be an anime immediately because it's so successful. The second is like just set, like they just show different generations, and slowly it gets to like this like Oron Host Club setting. Okay, I like this one. I like this one a lot. So I think this is the most successful one, mostly because we're just taking probably an already existing anime that we don't know about.
If it ain't broke, rip it off. It happens a lot. Pretty much any popular anime that happens to it. And occasionally you get a sequel anime that's way better. Actually, a lot of the time.
Yeah, occasionally you do. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to Soul Eater getting that Brotherhood treatment where they actually follow the manga instead of...
Oh, yeah. I like that, but I have no idea how far it deviated. But then... Well, I prefer the original Full Metal Alchemist to the actual story, though.
I wasn't able to find any of the Ainu folklore about her, really. I saw the stuff about the Shinto stuff about her, but the Shinto stuff is very limited, and she gets clumped in with all the other octopus gods.
Shelved in with other creatures, whereas the Ainu... There has to be a resource online somewhere in Japanese, presumably, of Ainu legends and things, besides the one book that was written by an English guy in 1900s.
And even then, I'd probably be okay with that to an extent. I just would need... but it's whatever. Turns out I don't know Japanese, or I guess the Ainu version of Japanese dialect. The dialect. It's probably completely different and was forcibly assimilated into the larger Japanese culture.
Yeah, I'm currently reading a manga. The third volume just came out, called Akkorokamui, about a soldier who fought in the Russo-Japanese War and goes back to Japan and Hokkaido and ends up in this plot to steal like millions of dollars worth of gold that was stolen from an Ainu village that had collected the gold, and the story is snowballing into fun madness with lots of Ainu culture thrown in.
Well, I mean, it's always nice. I mean, the one thing that we can say about the world barreling closer and closer towards its end is at least a part of us are becoming more aware of the cultures we stomped out.
Yeah, well, Ainu isn't completely gone, but it's small and secluded.
Yeah, well, that happens a lot with imperialism.
Yeah.
So, hey, imperialism, you suck.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a real strong stance. I don't think a lot of people understand how much it took me to come out and say that. But it turns out imperialism sucks, and I don't support it.
Thor Ragnarok is great.
Yeah, well, Thor Ragnarok is great, though. And you know what else is great? Pizza.
Well, no, I just like the subtext of Thor Ragnarok is imperialism really sucks. Let's stop doing that.
Yeah, exactly. But and speaking of imperialism, that's not a good transition, but I'm sticking with it anyway. What do you got? As like, what do you do? Yeah, podcasts, other stuff.
Most thing you can find is Stasis Pod, Transformers podcast at iaconunderground.net, and various things at Stasis Pod on Twitter. I think that's the right one. We do stuff. We edit with Rob, who's been on at least your Marvel show before. What is it called?
Yeah, but he'll be on talking about probably the Red Dwarf dude that lives down in Detroit.
Okay, a fan of the TV series Red Dwarf?
No. It's like a tiny dwarf thing that like fucks up a bunch of stuff in Detroit. It's like a local cryptid. Speaking of stuff to mess up, it's my turn to do plugs. I'm gonna do a thing where I put up a Facebook page because I shuttered a bunch of my other podcasts and kind of starting over on stuff with me being a better person at stuff and things. Plug stuff. So, I don't know what's going to be called yet, but it will be linked in the descriptions once I have it up. So I have this podcast. I also have Alphabet Flight, which is my main podcast now. If you'd like to listen to me talk about a bunch of Marvel characters alphabetically and maybe, actually stay on topic and stuff whenever they're not boring, and me decrying the awful existence of the Internals and how they were so popular in the 80s and I can't fucking leave them. Like, I want them to be gone, but they show up every week. I hate them so much. They're so boring. And that should be fun. And I think that's about it for me. So, thank you for listening to Creepy Critters. Creepy Critters. And maybe avoid a gigantic octopus lady shooting noxic, poisonous clouds at you.
Yeah, the poisonous part is kind of a downer. Bye.